There is something no self-help book will ever tell you. Something that separates the average man from the man who leaves scars. It has nothing to do with looks, nothing to do with money, not even intelligence. It's invisible, silent, but brutally powerful. Think about that guy you know. He's not the most handsome, not the most charismatic, but there's something about him, something that makes women cross boundaries, forgive mistakes, become obsessed without knowing why. That something is not luck. It's not magic. It's knowledge, a code. And if you're willing to go all the way down this path, subscribe now and stay with me until the end. Because once you see this, there's no going back. Here's the real problem. You were trained wrong. They taught you that being a good man was enough, that being available, attentive, reliable was the key. And now you wonder, why does she choose the guy who ignores her? Why does she leave you on red but begs someone else for attention? It's not your fault, but it is your responsibility to understand. Because desire is not born from logic. Desire is born from chaos, from tension, from unpredictability. And this is the territory of men who don't beg, men who don't seek approval, men who become their own sun. Everything starts orbiting around them. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you what most men never see. You'll start recognizing patterns, understanding hidden messages, anticipating moves before they happen. But first, you need to understand how your value is actually measured. Those signals aren't about what you say, they're about what you transmit. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Value is not communicated. Value is transmitted. When you truly have it, you don't need to convince anyone. The average man tries to prove his worth by talking about himself, doing favors, showing achievements, seeking validation with every move. But what he doesn't realize, in that process, he's revealing neediness. And neediness in the attraction game is blood in the water. It repels the ones worth having. Women don't simply observe you, they scan you. They read you like experts in a language you don't even know you're speaking. They detect inconsistencies. They smell fear. They sense insecurity in details you think are irrelevant. Your tone of voice, how long you take to reply, the speed of your movements. And from that, they form a judgment. Not logical, not conscious. In 2009, psychologists Michael Krauss and Dacher Keltner published research in Psychological Science, proving people can accurately determine someone's social status within 60 seconds of observation. No words spoken, just body language, posture, eye direction. All of it communicates value or lack thereof, security or anxiety, leadership or submission. And the most brutal part? This judgment happens subconsciously. She doesn't know why she's not attracted to you. She just knows something feels off. And that's enough to file you into the folder, safe friend, not desired man. That's why obsessing over what you say is pointless. Attraction isn't built through logic. Attraction is triggered through the visceral. And the visceral realm is ruled by what you don't say. Most men approach desire like accountants. They believe attraction is a transaction. More attention, more compliments, more gifts, more time. They think if they add enough value, she'll finally see them. But here's the brutal truth no one wants to hear. Desire doesn't add, it oscillates. Attraction isn't born from abundance. It's born from absence, from the possibility of loss, from the tension between what is wanted and what is not guaranteed. That tension, that's the oxygen of attraction. You've felt this yourself. Think about the person who was always available, always responsive, always there. How long did the craving last? Now think about the one who disappeared for days, who left your messages unanswered, who was close one moment and distant the next. Your mind couldn't let go. This isn't cruelty, it's brain chemistry. Wolfram Schultz proved this in 1997. When reward is predictable, dopamine flatlines. When reward is uncertain, dopamine spikes. Your nervous system is designed to chase what it cannot predict, to obsess over what it cannot control. And the man who understands this never makes the most common mistake. The mistake that kills attraction faster than anything else. The mistake most men are making right now without even realizing it. The most lethal mistake? Being predictable, always available, replying instantly, accepting any plan, eliminating uncertainty. The female mind doesn't desire what is safe. It desires what is valuable. And valuable things are never easy to obtain. Here's what most men don't understand. In the 1950s, B.F. Skinner discovered something that explains why casinos are addictive, why people obsess over someone who takes time to reply, why you can't control what you can't predict. He called it intermittent reinforcement. Rewards that arrive unpredictably create stronger attachment than rewards that are guaranteed. But here's where it gets darker. In 1997, Wolfram Schultz published research in Science that changed everything. He proved your brain doesn't release dopamine when you receive a reward. It releases dopamine when you anticipate one, without knowing if it will arrive.
What do you know that I don't?
That means desire isn't linear. It's oscillating. It lives in the space between approach and withdrawal, between giving and doubt, between yes and maybe. The man who disappears into his phone at the first message doesn't create desire. He creates comfort. And comfort doesn't excite. It sedates. Now pay attention. This isn't about playing games. This isn't about fake unavailability. That's cheap manipulation. And women detect it immediately. This is about having a real life. Projects that matter. Missions that consume you. When you live with purpose, you don't need to fake distance. You create it naturally. But there's something deeper here. Something about what that distance actually communicates. The men women desire most aren't the ones flooding her phone with messages. They're not the ones giving endless likes. They're the ones busy building something bigger than a conversation. They're the ones who can ignore without hatred, reply without urgency, disappear without drama. And in the female emotional world, that is dynamite. Because here's what no one tells you. Emotional tension is the art of holding mystery without breaking connection. It's knowing when to move forward and when to pull back, when to touch and when to give space, when to speak and when to stay silent. These nuances aren't learned from quotes on Instagram. They're developed by living with intention, with presence, with control. That's what separates the desired man from the invisible man. But pay attention to this. It's not about pretending to be cold. It's about having the internal strength not to react impulsively to every stimulus she throws at you. If she takes hours to reply, you continue with your life. If she cancels a date, you redirect your focus. If she tests you, you smile, but you don't surrender power. Because here's the brutal truth. Emotional tension only works if you are not emotionally dependent on her. If you are, it turns into anxiety, fear, frustration. And that leaks. Even if you hide it behind clever words, she will feel it. Because women don't listen to your words, they listen to your vibration. Tension isn't absence, it's selective presence. The man who can be there without being invasive, who can step back without resentment, who can appear with force and disappear with elegance. That is what builds desire. And it's this emotional dance that makes her think about you when you're gone. Reread your messages at midnight. Search for your name in her notifications. You become a story, and stories are addictive. But then something shifts. A strange comment, an unexpected silence, an emotional contradiction. She stops replying like before. She drops a provocative line. She mentions another man. That moment is not random. It's a test. And most men fail this test without even knowing it exists. You have no value. That's the message passive energy sends. Not safety, not kindness. Weakness. Society trained you to believe acceptance equals attraction. That understanding equals desire. That if you never threaten, never challenge, never create tension, she'll choose you. That's the lie that keeps you losing. Here's what no one tells you. Emotional dominance isn't about controlling her. It's about controlling yourself. Holding your frame when the ground shakes, not reacting with fear, not scrambling to explain. Imagine this. You're talking. She drops a line about an ex or says, "We're just friends, right?" The average man feels the spike of panic. He must respond, defend, clarify, prove his value. But the man who understands tests, he doesn't enter that game. He smiles, changes the topic, or simply doesn't get disturbed. And that is magnetic. Because in that moment, she senses something deep. This man is unshakable. This man doesn't need to convince me. This man has structure. Think of emotional structure like a golden cage. She tries to open it. She wants to see if she can get inside and move the pieces. If she succeeds, she loses interest. If she can't, she stays. David Buss spent decades studying this. Over 10,000 people, 37 cultures, 6 continents. His research in The Evolution of Desire revealed something brutal. Women don't filter men through words. They filter through behavior. They're scanning for one thing.
Can this man hold himself when pressure comes? And if your answer is anything less than absolute, here's what most men get catastrophically wrong. They believe devotion creates attraction. It doesn't. Dependence suffocates it. When you orbit around her validation, you hand her a weapon she never asked for, and her subconscious registers one thing: weakness. Every test she throws at you, subtle or direct, serves a single purpose: to measure your center. She says she likes men who take charge, while watching if you'll perform like a circus animal. She ignores your text, to see if you'll unravel. She contradicts herself, to check if you need her approval to feel solid. These aren't games. They're her nervous system scanning for structural integrity. So how do you pass? With calm, with presence, with a smile that neither defends nor attacks, with the quiet certainty of someone who was never competing. That is emotional dominance. Not raising your voice, not forcing, not punishing, but staying firm in your energy while the storm passes. Here's the brutal truth most men can't stomach. The more attractive she is, the more she will test you. Not because she's cruel, but because her survival instincts know she attracts men who use her as a mirror for their own emptiness. She needs to separate the real from the pretenders. You choose which category you occupy. The man who melts at a glance, or the man who maintains control without losing connection. When you stay grounded during a test, something shifts. She tests you less. Why? Her system already categorized you. Man with internal structure. And when that label installs, respect is born. Where respect exists, desire grows. Emotional dominance isn't about being cold. It's about being unshakable, having convictions that don't collapse when she withdraws affection. Knowing your value doesn't fluctuate based on her mood. Attraction isn't about impressing. It's about enduring, not reacting, but containing. Because when you master yourself, no one else can control you. And that freedom, That's what she's been searching for without knowing it. But there's another layer beneath this, something almost no modern man understands about sexual tension and the principle of emotional polarization. Sexual polarization, the sharp contrast between masculine energy and feminine energy. It happens when you don't try to adapt, don't soften yourself, don't apologize for your intensity. David Data wrote about this in The Way of the Superior Man, published in 1997. His insight cuts through decades of confused advice. Sexual desire only ignites when there is polarity. When you express your masculinity without fear, and she can rest in her femininity without having to defend herself. But here's what most men won't face. They fear making women uncomfortable. They fear seeming too intense. They fear being misunderstood. So they neutralize themselves. They become soft, polite, diplomatic. They turn into what they think she wants and become exactly what she cannot desire. Because when you neutralize yourself to be accepted, you lose your force. And without force, there is no attraction. She may like you, she may trust you, she may feel safe with you, but she will not desire you. Desire is not born from similarity. It's born from collision, from friction, from difference. Polarizing is not aggression, it's not domination. It's holding your masculine energy without hiding it, maintaining eye contact, speaking calmly but with intent, touching without asking permission while reading the moment with surgical precision. It's being in control of yourself while creating the kind of tension that cannot be ignored. And that tension lives in the details most men completely miss. His presence is provocative enough. He doesn't need to touch. His body language already said what the body wants. And that communication? It activates something no logic can resist. Female curiosity. A polarized woman doesn't respond from the mind. She responds from the body, from instinct, from that part of her that wakes up when she senses something deeper in play. That response cannot be faked. It can only be triggered. Now pay attention. This is not about seeking sexual validation. It's about connecting with your sexual energy as a source of power, not as a need. When you are full, when you're not hungry, you project something radically different. Repressed sexual energy becomes nervous, anxious, unstable. But channeled sexual energy becomes magnetic, because it's no longer searching, it's emitting. The men who generate the most desire aren't the best looking, they aren't the most talkative. They're the ones who hold their polarity without apologizing. They stand in front of a woman without surrendering their energy, without dissolving, without becoming softer. And that tension? That's what she feels when she can't categorize you. When she doesn't know if you're a threat or an opportunity. When she can't stop thinking about you. That confusion is gold. Polarizing requires courage. Not everyone will understand. Some will feel uncomfortable. But the woman who matters will activate. Because a woman in her feminine needs a man grounded in his masculine. Not to dominate her, but to invite her to surrender. Not to the man, to the experience itself. When you achieve this, you don't seek intimacy, you create it. You don't talk about attraction, you provoke it. Your presence becomes the frame. And inside that frame, desire blooms. Here's what almost no one teaches. Female desire multiplies where she feels free to choose, but firmly desired. That contradiction is the alchemy. The man who holds that contradiction without breaking it, without becoming clumsy, without asking for confirmation, becomes unforgettable. Because what she remembers. You can master body language. You can manage tension. You can even pass the tests. But if your life has no direction, if your day revolves around when she texts back, if you don't have your own path, everything collapses. Here's what sustains attraction long term. Not techniques, structure. Purpose is not a slogan you post on Instagram. It's an internal force that organizes your time, your priorities, your emotions. It's what gets you out of bed before the alarm.
what keeps you focused when the world tries to pull you sideways. It's what prevents you from becoming addicted to her attention, because you're already intoxicated by something bigger. The man without purpose becomes a leaf in the wind. If she's warm, he's good. If she pulls away, he collapses. That type of man cannot sustain desire because he cannot sustain himself. And women feel this. They sense he's always available, that he has nothing better to do, that he needs her too much. And whatever you need too much automatically loses value. A solid structure is not built around a woman. It's built around your vision. If she fits, great. If she doesn't, you keep moving. Purpose transforms your energy. It stops being reactive. It becomes magnetic, because you're no longer searching for something to complete you. You're creating from fullness. And that shows in everything. In how you say no, in your ability to walk away without bitterness, in your ability to prioritize without drama. Purpose also protects you from the most dangerous trap. When you have no direction, it's easy to confuse validation with love, attention with connection, sex with importance. But when your path is clear, here's a brutal secret. Women can smell when your life is empty, not because of what you do, because of how you do it. If a text from her changes your entire mood, if being left on read breaks your focus, if her presence makes you forget yourself, you're already lost.
Structure gives you your power back because it reminds you of one non-negotiable truth. You are the center of your life. You are the engine, not the passenger waiting to be chosen. A man with purpose can lose a woman and keep growing. A man without purpose loses a woman and collapses, because she was his energy source, his compass, his reason to exist. And that, though it sounds romantic, is the perfect formula for self-destruction. Here's what they won't tell you. Attraction isn't based on what you do for her. It's based on what you do for yourself and how that shapes the world around you. She doesn't want to be your mission. She wants to be part of something bigger that you're already building. Purpose doesn't have to be epic. It can be writing, training, creating, solving a problem that matters to you, but it has to burn inside you. When your life has direction, everything shifts. Your silence becomes magnetic. Your boundaries become respected. Your presence becomes desired. Because you're no longer chasing, you're creating. And that energy doesn't just attract, it selects. The man with purpose doesn't accept any presence just to avoid being alone. He chooses. And when you choose from internal abundance, you project something no technique can replicate. She feels that you're not addicted to her attention, that you're not emotionally available like an anxious child. And in her subconscious, that makes you different, rare, worth pursuing, because the man who doesn't need is the man who has. You've reached the end, but this is not the end of a video. It's the beginning of something deeper, because what you saw here, these are not tricks, not lines, not manipulation strategies. This is a call to stop being the domesticated version of yourself and start building the version that doesn't need approval to exist. Everything you learned, the invisible language of value, emotional tension, internal dominance, sexual polarization, personal structure, all of it points to one direction: identity. It doesn't matter what you say if your energy screams the opposite. It doesn't matter how much you practice if deep down you still feel insufficient. And it doesn't matter how many women you attract if you're still a man who depends on them to feel valid.
No.
Transformation is not technical, It's internal, psychological, existential. And it begins the day you decide to stop orbiting other people's lives and become the gravitational center of your own. Most men today are lost because they were trained to please, not to lead, to accommodate, not to claim territory, to avoid discomfort instead of creating impact. And they pay for it. They live trapped in relationships that drain them, in dynamics where they're always the ones waiting, always adapting, always begging. But you're not that man anymore. Because if you made it this far, you can't unsee what you've seen. You can't ignore what you now understand. And that changes everything. Here's the paradox. When you stop needing her, she starts looking for you. When you stop chasing, she appears. When you stop trying to please, you seduce. Because female desire does not respond to effort. It responds to energy. And the energy she cannot ignore is born from the man who chose himself. You are not the man who waits. You are the man who chooses. And when doubt creeps in, when you feel yourself losing center, here's what brings you back. Every time you align with your purpose, power returns. Every time you choose your vision over momentary pleasure, your structure strengthens. Every time you set boundaries, your value rises. Because the man who respects himself commands respect without speaking. And that respect is the foundation of everything real. Here's what they won't tell you. She can play with your words, but she cannot ignore your energy. She can doubt your intentions,
But she cannot deny what you carry inside. She may walk away, but she will not forget you if you marked her from a deep place. Not a needy place, a real place. And you don't achieve that by being perfect. You achieve it by being solid. Strong enough not to lose yourself in her presence. Focused enough to keep moving even when she doesn't reply. Valuable enough not to beg for love. This is the moment you stop acting like the man you want to be and become him. You won't achieve it in one day, but today can be day one. If this content shook you, if it gave you clarity, subscribe, turn on notifications, and share this with someone who needs to wake up. This channel is not entertainment. It's training, psychological warfare for men who want more than validation. They want power, mental clarity, real direction. So tell me, which version of yourself are you choosing today? See you in the next one. This is Inner Compass.